uh, non-duality. So if you hear the two words non-duality, it's basically starting at a negative or a negating point, yes? It would, if it wasn't, it would have been the ultimate oneness, or there'd be some name put on it. But the name is very descriptive of its direction, which is negation, yeah, non-duality. So obviously, we wouldn't need to negate any place we didn't think we were in, yeah. So there's an activity of duality that is basically it's the basis of all the activity. You know, comes and goes, act, react, day, night, male, female, subject, object. So basically, uh, it's almost like the primary imprint of a programming, and then the programming projects. Yeah. So the message of non-duality is in a way is a negation of that activity. And what is a negate is it doesn't say there isn't an activity. It says the activity isn't reality, so to speak. Yeah. Now you would think that if we are reality, it would be best just to keep hearing we are reality. But this activity that non-duality is directed to is that sense of being the one who hears the message of non-duality.
Mhm.
That sense of being the hearer of the message is probably more important to recognize than the message, because the message gets neutered or changed when it's claimed by the mental state. Yeah. And it's pretty subtle and it's pretty fast. And basically, most pointers would usually end up to point at that, which is in the Course in Miracles, it's the something else we've made to be ourselves. Ramana would say it's the non-existent thing that's taken to be an existing thing. This assumption of being a noun before all verbs, of being a thing that's entertaining no thing. These are just some of the common expressions of it. The more subtle ones is the act of being identified, and that when it assumes you're Paul, it also produces a sense of a historical Paul. So you not only feel like you're Paul, you feel like you've always been Paul, and therefore you're always going to be Paul. It's a pretty sweet move in a way, because it's basically hiding its nothingness with time, you know. So the idea of I am Paul is I was Paul, I will be Paul, therefore I am Paul. So it's arrived at through a mental activity and a mental logic. So I was Paul, so the mental state's constantly referring to Paul. It has memories to back that you are Paul up, yeah, because when there's a memory of you, you're pictured as a body, yeah, and when there's a worrying of you, you're worrying as a body. So, and when there's a so the remembering in the past is one form of remembering, and the worrying in the future is another form of remembering. But what's happening is there's a remembering of self. And when self is remembered, it's remembered as a historical thing. Yeah. So it isn't like, oh, I just remembered Paul, because then you could easily forget Paul. Yeah. But there's a remembering of Paul, and then there's a feeling that you've been Paul for quite a while. And hence you're going to be Paul. And all attempts to escape will be futile in a sense. because you don't even see, if you try to escape from an imaginary thing or an imaginary place, a reality has just been given to that imaginary thing and imaginary place. You can't have that not happen because we're giving everything all the meaning it has, and in a sense, as reality, while we're taking ourselves to be something else, we give a meaning to reality. Yeah? And that meaning to reality hides the fact that we are reality in a weird way. So now, as Paul, I search for reality using the reality to search for itself. Yeah? These are conundrums. They're not mystical equations or formulas. It's just a simple explanation of how the two seems to become one. Yeah. And the one is pictured as Paul as a body. So the oneness of a body being a long-lasting, independent, separate thing gives a certain credence that you're definitely not a product of duality. Yeah. Look, there's only me. Yeah. And then there's all these other yous. There's no two-ness where I'm standing because I would see it in the mirror and shit. But no, you are of two-ness, the mental state. Yeah, and it hides that with a sense or an image of oneness, the body. Yeah, so I was talking to someone yesterday about, because I'm curious of the person knows a lot of the present presenters in non-duality that I'm not familiar with. I haven't heard anyone in a long time. And I was saying, well, are they sharing the message with the warnings of this mental activity? How quickly it arises, its modus operandi, claiming whatever's happening to imply there's a someone? Or are they talking, or they're trying to be descriptive about something that can't be described? Yeah. Or are they talking about what can't be talked about? And are they trying to describe, this? And she said, well, most of the ones I hear are similar to that. And you're basically the only one that's emphasizing the negative aspect, well, not the negative or the aspect of negation. And I said, wow, I wonder how that's working out, because I just wonder how it works out. Because if this head arises and claims the event of being absent, coldly absent of the mental state, the mental state is going to appear and claim it. Yeah, that's what it does. That's why what I had an erroneous understanding that certain areas or topics of life would be untouched by this activity of mental claiming, and spirituality was one of them. I figured spirituality was such a noble calling, it was preemptively free from this infection, so to speak. Yeah. So what I did in a spiritual manner would be untouched by that mental claiming. And I came to find out that wasn't true in my own experience. Yeah. If something occurred and there was a rather large intervention in what's going on, you want to call it an epiphany, I would notice that the ending of the epiphany, the seeming ending, coincided with the line of thoughts, I'm having an epiphany. Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as the I showed up and claimed the epiphany, it's changed. The epiphany lost its epiphaniness, whatever, and was used to reinforce the I that had the epiphany. Now, I couldn't believe it. Or like a super peak experience. And then when the head regrouped, it had me being the one who had the super great peak experience. And the glove was on the hand so quickly, I was talking as the glove thinking I was the hand. Yeah. The glove was still talking to me, but I thought I had a strong enough experience of the hand that the glove wouldn't dare try to come over me. But But I didn't see that to be true. Yeah. I saw that this is a mechanical thing. If you're knocked out, it's still going to get in the ring because it's a mechanical. There's no volition. It's not something that you are doing. And then if something struck you strong enough, you would not do it. Yeah. I don't see it that way. It's mechanical. I feel the mental state is not an experiential event, it's an interpretive event. Yeah, it's interpreting what's happening from a point of view of duality, from a point of view of subject object. Yeah, we're the seeming subject, and then so I'm the seer of all the seeing, which isn't true to begin with. And then there's a lot of objects I see. Some of them are subtle, let's say thoughts. Some of them are much more crude, let's say trees or trucks or whatever. Yeah. But now the subject of that event, which is the seeing, is completely commandeered to imply that there's the seer. And then all the objects are different objects, yeah? So the scene can change and vary, but the seer is always the one, the same seer, yeah? So where would the emphasis be if I was going to look at that? I would rather go to the subject, yeah? Because the seer seems to be in every equation of seer seen, even though the scene is changing constantly, the seer seems to remain the same, like this song remains the same. So am I that seer? Yeah? Or is it seeing? Yeah? There's seeing, and then there's the experience of seeing. Yeah. There's no seer seeing seen. It's not a trinity. There's seeing and seen as the experience, but there's no seer seeing seen. Yeah. There's hearing and heard as an experience, but there's no hearer hearing and heard. Yeah. There's feeling a lot. Yeah. There's feeling and the things that are felt, but there's no feeler. Yeah. So on it goes. The experiential experience, this experience here is, conscious contact through senses of things, let's say, subtle things, grosser things. So there is always seeing and seen, but there never was a seer. What's getting emphasized in the interpretive realm? The seer, which isn't even in there, is the most emphasized. So the seeing is totally underemphasized. The seer is very pronounced, and the seen usually have less or more importance based on what you think they can do for you, or that thing can do for you. So basically, it's a transactional view from the seer. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what the transaction is, because it's only being used to reflect or project the seer. It has nothing to do other than that, really. Yeah. So the claiming, whatever is happening, it's used to claim that it's all that stuff that's happening is happening to one person. Yeah. So instead of life is happening, it's life's happening to me. Yeah, so what is that? Way lopsided seer, very not even fucking really aware of the seeing, yeah? And then maybe a cursory amount of attention to the scene based on what it can do or not do for me. So do I want to change the meaning of the objects, or maybe just question the coronation of the imagined subject? Yeah, I would see the most efficient manner would go that way. Yeah, yeah. and no because the basis is already the fact. They're seeing and maybe seen. Yeah. I would say seen is of appearance. Yeah. The seeing is of reality. Let's see. But why isn't the seeing emphasized? Yeah. There's a mental activity, obviously, that wants to take everything and imply it to the seer. Yeah. I see that as mechanical, and I don't see that as stopping as long as there's breathing of the body and the brain is in a lobotomy state or something. Yes? So why not just arrive at where you already are by seeing what you're not? Yeah? And then you won't have to do anything else. The seeing what you're not will be sufficient for the loss of interest in the seer. So now you'll be alive in a way. Yeah? Not covered with an interpretive blanket, but alive. Blue will be blue, red will be red. You'll actually feel a lot of stuff. Yeah? And you'll see a lot of stuff. And there'll be hearing of a lot of stuff. And there'll be tasting and touching and all this. Yeah? And the head will keep presenting the narrative of a noun, the seer, that eclipses seemingly the seeing, and then emphasizes on some value level the seen. That will continue, but there'll be a great loss of interest in it. Yeah? And that interest is now going to bring about other effects, not for that you, the seer, not through it, not by it, but let's say from that seeing, yeah, from that which is hearing, that which is seeing, that which is tasting, that which is touching. And now you'll have a counter event going on, which is living, and there'll be an interpretation. Instead of interpretation disguising itself as living, yeah? There'll be an interpretation presented. I find it's a great source of comedy, really. It's incredibly hilarious. Yeah, but there'll be living and there'll be an interpretation of living. And there'll be not something that you have to vigilantly maintain. It will be obvious. One is nothing, which is everything, and the other is something, which in this case is nothing. Yeah. So so non-duality is negating a negation of that whole subject-object activity. Yeah, it's saying, because if you're not the seer, it becomes clear that there's no one that's the seen. Yeah, it's not sort of like one lady got in touch with me in the early days. She says, I've become completely freed from the ego, but everyone else's ego is bothering me. Yeah, it's sort of not like that. It's sort of like, if you're not a person, they're not a person. It's not like you're the only non-person here. So somehow the loss of interest in you as a thing, there's a loss of interest in them as a thing. Yeah, it's not like, yeah. The loss of interest is of things, basically. Not really. That what's been attributed to things, really. That's what happens. This sense of subject, or the one, or the center of the universe, or, that everything is interpreted as how it pertains to this me. Yeah. And you have to see there is a process in the coronation. There's a you being presented. You start assuming it's you, and then there's a point where it's crowned me, which is just way. That's in the unknown area of up the ass of self. Few people come back from that black hole of me. Then you've reached a level of terminal uniqueness. Yeah. So, and really, ultimately, whatever works, works. You know, if reading the dictionary backward works, I would suggest that. I wouldn't suggest it to everyone because nothing is for everyone. Yeah, because mind is before everything, big M, and so sometimes mind gets triggered by whatever mind wants, really. So it could be a dictionary, it could be whatever. So yeah, I'm happy, so happy to be here. This is how it's revealed with me. Yeah, it just I hit certain points, and there was a certain point I hit that there was no points to get to after that, as far as right now. Yeah, and so basically the best way to describe the reverse engineering that was revealed was through negation. Yeah, it's just I can't see. Uh, yeah. I think it's the most direct point because of the preponderance of emphasis on the mental state. Yeah, seemingly, and how quickly the mental state puts its image where nothing is. Yeah, it puts its image on nothing. Yeah, and when I finally started to see that activity and not claim it to be me, maybe the head did, but it was clear it wasn't. Uh, a lot of stuff really stopped, and that's a good indication that you arrived where you never left, because a lot of shit stops. Because a lot of shit's about arriving somehow. Yeah. So when you arrive at where you already are, I would imagine a good indication is a lot of stuff stops. Yeah. Because all the agendas are basically trying to arrive at where we already are. So, yeah. All right. Thanks, man. Happy to see you, Judith. Happy to see everybody. I don't know. Maybe not everybody, but most of us. Yeah. It could be a few I could find some kind of bone to pick with. Let's see. There's Gary. Yes. Gary won't go back into the corner. I'm upset with Gary. Mary has realized she doesn't have to be perfect to be a conduit of service. Yes. Yeah. Let's see. Glenda O'Driscoll realizes she can attend every one of these Zooms resting on that same backboard. Yes. From the beginning to the end. Pretty good. Nice to see you, Glenda. And there's many of us here. Oh, there's Michael. Michael Shemansky, yes. We want to keep Michael in that square for a while. Yeah, yeah. All right, now there's yeah, we've got Alex from the Hudson Valley, Roman from Germany. Nice to see you, Roman, as always. We got Georgia. Nice to see you, Georgia. And yeah, anyone else? Oh yeah, we got Bill from New Jersey. Bill from New Jersey. Doesn't look like a bad day. Oh, you're inside. That's why. I forgot. Oh, Zlatko's here. He's got the lights on. That's pretty cool. All right, Kenneth, everyone. if we want to speak about any topic, or if you want us to riff on anything, or you got anything to share, please keep it to yourself.
Well, Gary doesn't want to keep it to himself.
All right, Gary, come on out. Come out of that corner.
Okay. Okay, here's what you don't want to hear, I guess. Anyway, I'm enjoying the talk this morning because, and I'm connecting it to, or this afternoon, to, like, and pardon this is mixing with the 12-step stuff, but this is like pure fourth step inventory. Because, part of me is wondering, well, why are we talking about this? And it just occurs to me, it's like, well, this is exactly what I want to do with a fourth step inventory, which is to take an inventory of the exact nature of the wrong and just get to see that really clearly. And that, from that point of view, it's like, oh yeah, that's all I'm doing here is I'm just seeing, I'm doing that fourth step inventory and seeing very clearly the exact nature of the wrong or the character flaw, being self. So I don't know, somehow that little shift made it clear what I'm doing here. Oh, okay. It's not, it's not hard. It's not a big deal. And it bears repetition because, because of that function that tends to reassert itself. So it's good to have that repetition happen over and over again. But it's just like the fourth, it's good for the same reason that a fourth step inventory is good. It helps clarify what's not me and by doing that, what is. So yeah, that I'm just enjoying the clarity of how those two fit. One feeds right into the other.
Yeah, well, Gary, also, the stubbornness of the mental state has a hard time with repetition that goes against its repetition. Yeah. So basically, you come to a talk this week and you hear something, and then it usually gets illuminated that week through your own experiences. Yeah. So you start seeing the understanding of the message in a cryptic but a very clear way. Yeah. Just like in recovery, when I came in, they had a statement that was, it says, people step on your toes seemingly without provocation. But invariably, you'll find that you made a decision based out of self or fear that puts you in the position to be hurt. Yeah. Now that I heard, I had a little understanding of what it said, and then I saw it in life, like a lot in the next few months. I saw a whole lot of it. And so this is sort of, in a way, this is sort of laying down like a cement sidewalk, but you got to come back, make sure no one put their hands in it, yes, and stuff like that. Yeah, it's sort of like that, because the head will want to put its hands in it and change it. But if you keep going there and the wet cement is wet, you can change it, and after a while, it starts hardening without those impressions. Yes, and therefore, when you look onto that cement, it's more like a reflective surface, like a mirror. A lot gets revealed with that understanding. Yeah, because all you see is what you're not. Yeah. You see the mechanicalness of it and the hope that finally you can be done with this idea of inserting, or its idea of inserting you as the doer of all this shit, because you're not. Yeah. You're an effect, not a cause. So when that volition stops, in a way, there's no need for forgiveness. You see it. Yeah. You see that this is how a mechanical thing works. Yeah, it just keeps on claiming you as the doer, especially on shit it feels it can mine a lot of guilt and shame and pride out of. So it just keeps on. Yeah. So every time you look in that cement, you see more things about you that seem to be hardened, and the yapping constantly implies they're historical. That imprint came with the cement. I mean, there's no way. You just got to live around that. You got to live, and yeah, you just start recognizing what you're not before you recognize everything from what you're not. Yeah, that's what starts happening. Yeah. That's here. I'm talking about an effect here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you think it really changes things? Because we we all got an imprint in our life, right? Maybe from early on in our history, but somehow what we're doing here lightens the load of that imprint. Does it change the imprint? I mean, you're talking.
And it has the possibility, but it's not like it's changing it for your vested agenda. It's just it may be over for it. Yeah.
It may,
Yeah.
but that's not the point. Or
I've seen it in this life. No, that's not the point. But I saw some things that had some heavy fire breathingness in regard to those. And even when I entered recovery, it would happen for 11 so years. And it was very frustrating.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then the only strategy that could be taken is I'm going to try to avoid things that trigger it, which is not that's not living large by any extent. And then one time when it was doing its number through me, something happened. Yeah, it was usually happened on holidays with the significant other. Yeah, and I started to get paranoid about the significant other without any evidence from the significant other, just in the head. And then it would seem to have such strength I couldn't hold the dam back, and then I'd put my foot in my mouth and it would create a lot of effects. And when I was drinking, they did not have one experience, which was an emotional hangover, because when I did them when I was stone cold sober, I didn't do them, it happened. It was a really being bummed out. I was terribly disappointed. Yeah, and so that that river came to an end. It was pretty cool. It's never shown up again. Yeah, so
Mm.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I had a feeling it was gonna be running most of my life, but it was the only thing that ever motivated me to go to therapy was that. Yeah. I gave it a shot and yeah.
Mm.
So again, we're talking about the action figure, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Once you call it a spiritual bypass, it's sort of like maybe, I don't know, maybe you don't have to go down that road anymore, even though there's a groove to go down that way. I don't understand how that happens, but it seems like what you're talking about, just noticing that those grooves and stuff, eventually they lose their influence. They are not as attractive or something.
Well, if you're in the narrative that they're your grooves, the head comes to the conclusion it's best to avoid them. It's not really wanting to work on them. It just wants to not, be shown them, so to speak, yeah? So it sort of turns into an elephant in the room. You may have a lot of Buddha pictures and statues in the room, but there's a big elephant in the room also that's affecting your room a lot more than the statues and the Buddha pictures. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Who's going to do a fearless inventory if you think it's yours? You're going to you're not going to tell the truth, because the truth would be seemingly, from the head's point of view, much more damaging than avoidance of the truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when it's not you, you can do an inventory, obviously, a clear one, a fearless and thorough one. Yeah, because you do fearless inventories on other people all day, don't you? Your wife and everyone else. Your boss. I mean, you have no problem doing that. Only when it comes to you that it gets cloudy. I don't know. But so if you see it's not you, you can do a pretty thorough inventory. What's unsaleable in the stock and trade, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, you say that so lightly, but just like you say on Tuesday and Thursday, that's what I see is missing in a lot of the 12 steps. It's like, how can you do a fearless inventory if it's always yours? It starts out as yours and it ends up as yours. It's like, no, man, I'd rather go have another cup of coffee or anything, because there's no, the end is not worth it. But yeah, I think to me what you're doing right now is that fearless inventory. You're
Yes.
examining.
It's like the thing Ramana said about, let's say you're on a spiritual thing, and after years of practicing, it comes to be clear that you're the obstruction, you're the one that's doing the obstruction. So then the mental logic comes to its only conclusion, which is, well, for me to reach reality, or whatever, transcendence, everything else, I've got to die. Well, it's not going to be running to that goal, will it? No, it's going to drag its feet for quite a while because it wants to be there to get it. And the conclusion it's coming to is, I can't be there to get it. So I don't want to get it.
Right.
I want to look like I want to get it, but I don't want to get it. Yeah? So there's a lot of cognitive dissonance going on because there's a lot of like substations on the main K-Paul, there's a lot of different agendas playing. So what would be the best way that would have no fear in it to arrive at where you are than going on a journey to arrive at where you are? I mean, the thing that had all that anxiety of being shown to be completely irrelevant will be hidden the whole time, because it knows it's never going to arrive at where it already is.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
So
Going on a journey is the best way to hide the fact that have already arrived.
Exactly. You got the bags, and then there's an investment. Let's say you got beautiful leather bags and backpacks. You got the right clothes for your new atmosphere environment you're thinking you're going to. And then what are you going to do? Look at that and go, what the fuck? I didn't, of course, let's go on the journey. I got spent all this money. I'm taking that yoga class. I bought those yoga pants. Yeah. So, the head's a trippy thing.
Yeah.
Look at riding a bike. Seriously, I've watched this in my own life and watched others. They're riding a bike and if they're going near a gulch or a gully,
Yep.
they start falling. They try to save the bike. They don't care if they lose their life. They want to save that $500 bike more than themselves. This is how the head values us. See it, watch it. I remember I hit my head on the bottom of in the ocean, boogie boarding. Yeah, I had had a concussion in Australia, doing the same thing. This happened about 8 years later, and I hit my head, and my body shut off, the nervous system. Luckily, I landed on my back. I couldn't move anything. Yeah. And it was one way, it was really cool. The head had gotten shut down also. So there was no yapping and everything had a golden frame around it. It was actually an interesting experience. And I couldn't yell for help because my voice wasn't there. So, but someone who had been on the wave recognized that something happened, so they came over me and they pulled me out. And it's just taken a while, and they put me on a longboard. They get me to the shore. Some guys come over, start cutting your wetsuit out, which you want to, hey, don't do that, because that was worth something. They start cutting your head thing out. And then the first thought that came up in about 3 or 4 minutes was, I can't afford the ambulance. That's what it was. I can't afford the ambulance. Just leave me to die here. Just push me back into the water. I can't afford to save me. This is insane, isn't it? So, I mean, this is an easier, softer way to see the emperor has no clothes. Come to these talks. It's much easier than having to get whacked and then having a traumatic event to show you. You can hear it right here. Yeah. That which is presenting itself as you ain't you. Yeah. 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 Ultimately, it's coming from what we are, but it's not. On this consequential level, you have to see it as foreign, because if it is part of everything, it's saying it's all of everything. Yeah. It has no proportion, nothing. Yeah. So basically, by seeing it as foreign, a possibility that's not available will be, which is I can be free from it. That's the beauty. Yeah. That one little possibility, getting a foothold is a new basis of living. I can be free from it. Yeah. When you're identified as it, you're trying to be free as it. That's the bondage of self. Yeah. As we say in AA recovery, self can't get out of self. Yeah. So when what you are is identified as what you're not and tries to get out of what you're not as what you're not, there's no escape. Yes? This is the dilemma. So if you see what you're not, see what's masquerading as you as what you're not, a lot of possibilities become readily available. One of them is I can be free from it. Hallelujah. Yes? The I is already free from it, what we are. Not the I as they see an ego, but the I is already free. Yeah? And then you start recognizing all the bondage was imaginary. Everything has been appearance. Yeah? Nothing's ever really happened to change the fact of what we are. Nothing. Nothing could. Yeah. Yeah. And you get convinced of that. You get convinced of that. You get convinced of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been trying to convince the dog to do shit we want him to do, her do, tons of times. One time she came into the bedroom where we had the cat litter and the cat food, ate the cat food. Now the cat was here before the dog, and I'm a little biased to the cat. I walked in and got very fucking upset with that dog. And she got convinced from that point on never to enter the bedroom. Nothing else does she listen to at all. But that, because she heard something in my voice, but I don't want to get angry, I was moved to anger. I don't want to get angry, so she has the run of the whole fucking house, but she will not enter the bedroom. You throw a ball in, the ball goes in, she will not come in here. Yeah. 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 So being convinced. Being convinced is like you get up from the whack-a-mole game and there's still moles appearing. The game's over. You're not whacking moling anymore. You know what I mean? You're convinced of things and know things. Yeah. And it doesn't come up for debate. It doesn't get reviewed every year. It's just over. Yeah. That misunderstanding and its effects it produced, you're at the stage of, blue is blue, red is red. Yes? You're very clear why it's the open secret and the gateless gate. Yeah. Yeah. You never spend a second looking for what can't be found. Yeah. Yeah, it's just over. All my behaviors, quite a lot, was trying to arrive somewhere, anywhere other than here. Most of my behaviors have been changed dramatically because that fact has been changed. Yeah. I don't need to arrive at where I already am. Hallelujah. A lot of stuff stopped. A lot of stuff. And a lot of unspooling the mental ball has been pulled back because that 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 sense of upon arriving on having never left, that sense of on having never left is an incredible antidote to all of that movement, all of that agitation, all of that activity. Yeah? Because a lot of it is trying to leave an imaginary place. It is. A lot of it is trying to arrive at an imaginary place. Yeah? And then you watch it. You watch it from on having never left. Yeah? And then you see very clearly, you don't need someone to spell it out to you. You'll see it. And maybe someone will say it and it'll reignite. Yeah? It almost as if you galvanize the steel. You see it and then you hear about it, and now you have an understanding, which is that sense of being has been galvanized almost, and now it's valuable, extends in time its value. Yeah, you understand today, and then a week from today, and a month from today in this situation, tomorrow in another situation. Yes. Yeah.
Can I just say something, Paul?
Yeah.
The way I've been seeing it, because I've listened to your message and it did kind of hit, but the message had already been delivered for me. I had a mystical experience, what they could call that, right? Where there was definitely no Rick here. That was an experiential lightning bolt that hit me out of nowhere, right? And I had no reference to non-duality. I'd never heard of it. But since then, I started traveling a lot lighter. Didn't know why, right? So I spent the next like 10 years trying to get back to that experience as Rick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was aware of that, it was like, and your message, self cannot get out of self, it's like that kind of finally hit me without you saying it. But once I heard it from you, it's like, well, I'm screwed. So the only thing I really want to say is the whole battle within the mind can happen, right? But it happens within awareness, but you cannot leave that. You can't leave awareness ever. And when I look back on my life, that's never been missing. Yeah.
Yes.
It's never been missing. And it can't be missing. So whatever happens, happens, but it always happens in awareness. Do I own that? Well, obviously not, because you have it. And my awareness is no different than yours. It might appear different in how it's played out or how it's expressed, but that doesn't change the fact that it's there. Yeah.
Or here.
But whatever. Yeah. However, I mean, it's just the way I expressed it, right?
Yeah,
So I also want to ask a question, which is kind of why I came today. I'm having a hard time kind of making this like practical in daily life and my interaction with other people, right? Things still happen. Life still goes on. So when people are like acting out or they're coming from self, not sure how to deal with it. Say somebody like maybe owes you some money and they are not paying you for like a long time. How do you deal with a situation like that? Do you confront them? Do you take them to court? I mean, how do you, I mean, life still has to go on, and I'm having a hard time trying to make this a practical thing. Yeah.
Rick, maybe I would not try to make it anything really, and then just see what you move to do when you move to do it. I don't have any rote formula for stuff. Yeah, it's sort of like in AA when you were in AA in the beginning, and there would be newcomers, and you thought you lend them money, but they never paid you back. So after a while, the next time you lent them money, you know you were giving them the money. So there would be no upset because you knew better not to give them money, but you decided to give them money anyway. So it was basically you gave them money. So yeah, I don't. This isn't a real. This isn't the space to go into those details of how to, you know, learn how to face life successfully. I think that's better in a different setting, but
Okay.
I never have a. I don't really have.
You're not prone to give advice.
Yeah, well, I would if if you want to talk to me personally or something, but I don't here. Uh, yeah,
That's an example. It was an example.
yeah. I mean, after a while, if you don't know what was the best way to go, by doing it, you will. Either it was or it was the worst way to go. You're gonna find out
Well,
somehow.
yeah. Well, I want to say this too, because what my experience showed me, what I like to call my mystical experience showed me that it doesn't fucking matter, right? You can't get it wrong because
Yeah.
it's just, it's happening in awareness and it doesn't affect awareness. It never will.
Well, then, if that's strong in Skywalker, it should show up when you're involved with these situations. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I've been kind of looking at that, and like I said, I've been traveling lighter, but there's always going to be certain situations that are be like, well, kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Which way do I go? The head wants some direction. Yeah. So yeah, it's like there isn't one.
yeah,
There isn't one.
one place, yeah, you'll lose interest in a lot of the preamble before an action occurs. That
Right.
will happen for sure. Yeah, and if there's a stepping on other people's toes, you have an amend process. You can just make an amend. You can apologize for your seeming blind spot. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But yeah, if how to deal with life on life's terms, I wouldn't ask me for advice, really.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Like,
Well,
yeah, I have. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and that's actually kind of a good thing because if you go to someone for advice, they're going to give you their point of view because that's all they have.
Well, yeah, yeah. And my point of view, I don't think there's any real set way to do anything. It's
Right.
more like, you know, it's a dance. Sometimes you got a grade A, sometimes you get a grade D. But you don't.
Sometimes you fail completely.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah,
I mean,
Range.
so thanks, Rick. Though, thanks for that sense. Yeah.
Thanks,
yeah.
Rick. And I
Thank
want
you,
to
Bill.
I want to repeat that if it's okay to jump in, but check to see if somebody else has their hand up because Michael was waiting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know how to. This is my first Zoom, so I don't know how to put my hand up or
That's okay.
where
You
to
can
look at.
you can
Your
chat.
reactions.
You can chat or you can wave your hand even. But yeah, probably by chat or yeah, find out how to raise your hand. But either way.
Thanks, Matt. No worries. No worries at all. No worries at all. I really enjoyed your questions and I enjoyed that dialogue quite a bit. So thank you. No, I just wasn't. Thank you though for hosting and doing what you're doing.
Oh, this is Shemansky. Oh, all right.
Shemansky here. You mean Shemansky? Your approach is unique. I think after reading, I've read too many philosophers and logicians and non-dualists, but they talk about it different ways. I think Buddhists like Trungpa had a book called Spiritual Materialism. And I fell victim to that too. I was supposed to go to this big Buddhist event with Pema Chodron, and I was going to co-direct it, and I got loaded and I couldn't make it, you know? So there's classic, right? And I think addicts have, you know, they have a bigger hill to climb in some ways, and maybe that makes them spiritually stronger in some ways too, after they've climbed those hills. And I was, one practice I've been doing a little bit is the negation practice, the witness practice. Ken Wilber describes it, where he goes through, I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. I have desires, but I'm not my desires. And he goes through the emotions, and I have emotions, but I'm not my emotions. I have a body, but I'm not my body. And I guess it's a mystical practice that's been around for a while too. And I find that things just stop. Yeah. At the end of that, I feel kind of like sometimes when I'm chanting Mahamudra, I have the same experience too. After doing a lot of like seed syllables or something, all of a sudden the stop is a full stop. There's no Michael story when I'm chanting or, you know, negating all these things that create these storylines at hyper speed. So it's there are a lot of different tools, but your approach is definitely unique. And I'll end with this. There's a guy named Csikszentmihalyi who says that flow experiences where time goes away and you become, you know, there's no sense of true self with experts. It takes practice. And he says it takes about eight years of practice, you know, just that there's work involved in doing it. And the last question is, I was once criticized as a parent for sort of berating Avery or being hard on Avery, like your dog story, where you had you're firm, but the dog changes behavior. And I'm that way with Avery, and I get criticized sometimes by people. And one woman said, well, I don't know if I'm going to let Alexander play with Avery because, you know, you're programming some of that negativity about like, don't do this and don't do that. And I don't know, I see it differently. So is that necessary? I mean, can you just, are we awake already and we're programmed into these things? Because I wonder about how I was programmed.
Yeah. Well,
because you talk about what your experience when it changed for you when you were a kid, right?
well, one thing I want to speak about is that thing about I am not the thinker of the thoughts and stuff.
Yeah.
I would question that voice that's saying that.
Yeah.
I would take it back a step from there. Yeah, because that's not you saying that. It's like when I used to chant, I'm not a body, I am free. I am as God created me. After a while, I realized the only thing that wants to get out of the body is the body identification.
Gotcha.
So I realized,
Yeah.
Christ, I didn't catch the policeman. I thought I had the thief by the neck, but actually
Thank you, Paul.
it was projecting a huge policeman on the wall. So yes, I feel like I'm not into those things that much. But the other stuff, bro, again, I don't have vast opinions about it. This is about traveling lighter. It's not about becoming an expert of how to get out of heavy situations. It's about traveling lighter through those situations and maybe seeing them not as heavy. Yes. So
Yeah.
it's got a totally different, it's sort of like when they used to, I once read this thing I thought was pretty cool. So there was a saint, and this saint or whatever, sage, he sort of acted crazy a lot. Yeah. And so the people that were admiring him and wanted to arrive at and get to where he was or where they thought he was, they started to formalize his crazy behavior as a way of practicing to arrive at where he was without realizing what he was doing was just an expression of where he already was. Yeah, it wasn't a way of to arrive to where he was. It was an expression of where he was. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
beautiful.
So to me, a lot of stuff is like that. We see something and we think we're gonna, copy it and send it out to everyone and say, all right, do this, and this, and you're going to arrive there.
Yeah.
But a lot of that was an expression of never leaving there. It's not a way to get there. Yes?
Yeah. I'm framing it in the forms I know that I've heard, and maybe that's that framing is
this is just the message here.
Yeah,
A lot of times
maybe him.
when I saw the bad Paul, whatever you want to call it, I didn't realize. First of all, there was just seeing of something, and then it was presented as I saw the bad Paul. I didn't know seeing the bad Paul had been claimed by the good Paul, so to speak. Yes?
Right.
So I thought in self can't get out of self. And I thought I recognized self and I was going to get out of self as Paul. I didn't know that Paul was an aspect of self. Yeah. Yeah. So told by from the story of Paul, it makes sense. Paul has now saw the exact nature of the wrong, which is self, and now Paul is going to escape from that self and be free from the bondage of self. But Paul is usually AKA self in this example. Yeah. So self can't get out of self is exactly what they were describing. We hear it as Michael and Paul, and it causes us not to really hear it. Yeah, because it makes sense to Paul to try to get out of self. It makes no sense when you realize it's self trying to get out of self. Yeah.
So you see all that effort up front that, I mean, because you spend a lot of time meditating and that seeking as an essential part, because somewhat, I think, I don't know what people's paths are or practices are, but it's refreshing to hear your openness to, if you need a pail of water, get it, things like that. The messages about
Yeah.
But you spend a lot of time practicing, I mean, I think sometimes people don't understand all the time you've spent sitting and doing all those things. And you kind of negate that as well sometimes. Or is that just part of your path? You don't prescribe it.
No, I don't prescribe it. But
and you don't prescribe a lot of reading of other people. You just
no
in pieces.
But if I prescribed anything, I would realize no one's going to follow it anyway. We're just going to do what they do. So basically, we just keep it simple. And let's look at, are you still that which you have seen as the previous subject?
No, I am traveling lighter. I mean, if
you're not that interest in the previous subject as it's being presented now. That's yeah. So whatever I don't know what it will lead you to, bro. I don't know, but I know I can tell you what happened with me. Upon arriving on having never left, most of my behavior was trying to leave or trying to arrive.
Yeah.
That was it. So when something finally became clear, a lot of those like Expedia accounts were shut down. It was just basically, this is it.
I think
I've been trying to get out of Paul since I was 6 years old, basically until about 20 years ago. And then I realized the incredible, the impossibility of Paul transcending an imaginary place as an imaginary person. I'm here now, like always. Yeah. So here we go. Yeah.
Well, just to wrap it up with the comment that the woman made about, she's transcended her own ego, but other people's egos really irritated her. I thought that was beautiful because the same thing with parenting. Every time I try to force Avery, as he gets older, his own ego's kicking in, right? And I realized as he's 7 now, to your point, and so he will cajole, manipulate, negotiate everything strategically as his frontal lobes kick in. As a neuroscientist, I like to say, he can plan better. So he's trying to get what he wants, but I've given up more because my forcing and being the hard guy doesn't work so much. It's just, you have to be disciplined, but it's easier to let him be his own person.
Yes. See, what worked one day may not work the next. So it's a little bit of flexible. You can't become dogmatic in living. Something's gonna break.
Good to be back.
Yeah, it's nice to see you, Michael. Take it easy.
Yeah, I'm taking it easy.
Take it easy on us.
The assigned reading is
All right, Mike. Anyone else?
No other hands. And no, oops, I'm in the wrong place. Nope, no other hands.
Oh, then that's great. Eh? Yeah.
Just to let Rick know, if you look on the menu bar for Zoom, there's a chat box, so you can communicate with me that way too. Oh, oops, now we do have two hands up. No, one hand up, sorry. Georgia. And I'm gonna leave this computer open. I gotta take off for, that thing. So.
What thing?
But I can't say right now.
Uh,
Okay. So, yeah, but the room will stay open just fine. So Georgia is next.
And we just
Mike.
keep the thing open. I think 3 o'clock there's a Tupperware sale at the site. I mean, I don't even know who's on that site anymore.
Like this. Oh, and Rick, yeah, I saw your chat. Okay.
All right, so Georgia, yes.
Oh, hi. Hey, Paul.
Hey.
I've met you once before. I think I came to a talk you had in, I think it was New Jersey. And that was really great. And I recently, I appreciate everything you say, actually. I've been trying to get out of me being me. And, I've been on the spiritual path and I, meditate. And again, it's this I that you talk about that's doing these things, that's trying to escape itself. And it's just becoming really clear. And it feels like this. The story is, well, the projection is it's never going to get any better because it's always been the same. And so there's this story that's time related that I'm making up. But how do you not identify as it? That's my question.
You don't have to not identify. Just tell the truth about the identification. Just tell the truth about the identification as self. And there's no need to not identify. That would be self. Just let the light. The light doesn't ask a question. The answer comes out by the light being put on something. Yes? Yeah. So just put the light of the message on these activities that are they keep presenting a future and a present and a past condition wrapped around this idea of you, Georgia. And just that Georgia isn't going to non-identify as that Georgia. It's not going to work. Just see it's not you, really. And it's like a call and react or a call and response. All right, you recognize the call, but the response is the one who set the fire, that the fire is being called about. Yes?
Right.
So the selfing has two aspects.
Yeah.
So in a simple event, you're finally seeing something you didn't see before. So let's say you see self as, I've been making decisions based on self that put me in these positions. So now you've seen something where every time those decisions were made based on self, you called it you making the decision. So now you've seen something, all right? So, okay, but that which brought that seeing about is awareness, yeah? That awareness now gets claimed by the selfing, and now the selfing is saying it saw the self, yeah?
Right, yeah, I saw it.
Just make sure you catch the movement of the boat. It's like a coin of the realm, yeah? It's got heads or tails, policeman, thief. It's best to see both, yeah, to realize you're nothing, yeah? Yeah.
Okay.
So just catch it. You don't have to non-identify. You never were identified. Something else is in the act of identifying. You're not in that act. You're an audience, so to speak, yeah? That being underplayed, you're the most powerful aspect of this whole thing because you are light. So when the self has you convinced or is convincing or keeps pointing this way, this way, this way, the light goes that way, and then you have an illumination of interpretation that's
Yeah.
able to eclipse the living. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people, they're worrying about next week is eclipsing their experience this Saturday. That's mind-boggling. Yeah.
Yes.
Now the light will be put on that which is directing the light, and see that. And and the directing of the light has this assumption it's you, yes, and it's
Yeah.
not. You just see it, and then let's see how the chips fall. Yeah. There is no you're not identified. There's an identification as self. It's a verb, the whole thing. There's no self is not a noun, and the identification isn't being done by someone.
Right.
Yeah. It's the act of being identified as self. That's the mental process, is verbing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anytime you go into the mental process, you catch it usually in the act of being identified as self. That's what it's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
And of course, so if you're truly nothing in this world of something, you're probably going to grab whatever something is available. Yeah. Yeah. To be something. And so there you go. The story about you gets lit up, and therefore it keeps adding chapters. As long as the light keeps going on it, it keeps writing more story. Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like that's where the juice is. You know, this story has so much juice.
Yeah, yeah. You could say so. A lot of times it's the boredom that looks exciting, though, really. To the head, it looks exciting because it's about you, but it's really boring, basically.
Because it's all the same.
Yeah, so you'll hit a point where there'll be a true lack of interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets enough interest already. It's a glutton for it.
Yeah.
See, and the more it eats, the more outsized and mutated it gets. So it's
Yes.
not actually even helping it. Yeah, it's sort of like, yeah. So, yeah, it's a pullback of interest and attention, and that interest and attention, when it's directed by the mental state, you could say it basically enslaves you to what's not happening. And when it's directed by whatever, it enriches your day. It's the same energy. Yeah. It's just what it's put in. Like faith is a very important word with me. I think faith represents one of the powers of the place, like gravity or dark matter, whatever they have. I would put faith right up there. Yeah. Faith is a force that manifests by the vehicle it's put in. So you can see the force of faith in the thought system. When there's faith in the thought system, and that faith is pictured as the thinker of the thought system. Faith, yeah? When there's faith in the thought system one thought can ruin your day. One thought can ruin a whole Hawaii vacation. Yeah. One thought. Yeah. One thought held as yours has the ability to cause you to do something that may tattoo you for the rest of this life. You may go to prison, yeah, because you thought someone fucked with you on the highway, so you went after them and fucking shot them, and now you are in San Quentin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's forces to be reckoned with, and actually have humility and fucking honor of it. Because in recovery, we have a simple way of, perhaps there's a better way, trusting, losing, instead of trusting the finite self, trusting the infinite. Yeah. Now, if you're identified, or if there's an identification as the finite self, you will be trusting the infinite as the finite self, which is more trust in the finite self. Yeah.
Right.
Loss of interest in that, and now you're living from, or get your packages that are coming through you are coming from that infinite. Yeah. And you'll know the tree by its fruit. You'll see something's happened.
Right.
Yeah. Because you're traveling lighter and shit like
Right.
that. And you're enjoying peace of mind, and you understand the word serenity and know peace. And
Say
all.
hi, Avery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there. So yeah, stick with us. Come back and we'll, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Hey, I got to get going, guys. We got to drive up north to Grass Valley, I think. Yeah, Gary, I'm going to be up in Grass Valley tonight. I'm not doing any talks, but I'm just going up there. Yeah. So if you see me on the street, don't say hello. Just come over quietly. He's here. No. All right. Mike has left, but I thank him anyway. Judith, nice to see you. Yes. Looking forward to everything. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Paul.
We got our friend David from down under. There he is. Nice to see you, Dave. Tommy from Ireland. Craig May. Nice to see you, Craig. He's inside today. Johannes from Germany. Oh, this is the trifecta here. Glenda from Ireland. We got Roman from Germany. There you go. So this is an Irish German sandwich. 2 pieces of German bread with a banger in the middle. We got Gary from the corner, but he's never going back. Yes. Georgia, nice to see you. Mary, great, fantastic. Alex, as always. Geraldine, thank you for your support. It's a pleasure. Michael Shemansky, yeah. Yes. We got Rick. Nice to see you, Rick. Thank you for your share today. The hand will come easy down the road. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah. We got Z, my friend Z. Nice to see you, Z. I'll call you up before we go, eh? Say hello. We got Kenneth. Thank you, Kenneth. I got a letter full of cash from you. Yes, thank you. We got Tariq from Dover, New Jersey. Always a pleasure. Thank you, Tariq, for all the donations also. Everyone who gives or doesn't give, everyone's giving, you know. Life is taking care of us. It's pretty cool. Yeah. We got Benedict. Oh, Benedict. Well, now you got the whole name down there. All right, Benedict.
I don't know how that happened.
Benedict, formerly known as Ben. All right.
I don't
We
think it's
got
even spelt right.
formal now, Ben. All right. We got Chris G. Thanks for your share last week, Chris. We got, or this week, I don't know, can't remember. Ariane, nice to see you, honey. Yeah. We got Miles. Oh yeah, my main man down there. Nice to see you, Miles. We got Monique. Monique, how you doing? Yeah? All right. How's Mom? I see her there. Mom never knows what I'm saying, and she's much better off for it. Yeah, there she is. Nice to see you, Mom. Yeah. We got Miss Amelia. We're ready to roll, honey. Coffee, hit the road. Yes. Suzanne, thank you, Suzanne, for all your support on a lot of levels. Yes. We got not Jacob. Yes, not Jacob from not Seattle. Nice to see you. We got Kaylin from Romania. Nice to see you, my friend. Say hello to your lovely daughter.
I will. Thank you for
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. Seriously. We got Bill. Bill from New Jersey. I'm always simpatico for anyone from the tri-state area. Yeah. But remember, it's New York. Yeah. New Jersey, yes. New York. Remember that. Yeah. We got Leah. Oh, Leah, nice to see you, honey. She's in Florida. She's thanks for coming in, babe. All's well down there?
Very good. Thank you, Paul.
Oh, you're welcome. And we've got Freddie S. Freddie,
Cheers, Paul. Good to be here.
Have you been here before?
No, first time.
Oh, nice to meet you. Where are you from, Freddie?
I'm from the UK, so near London.
Oh, great. Nice to
So
meet
it's bedtime here, or nearly.
you. Thanks for coming over. Thank you.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, cheers. We got Chris from Lexington, Kentucky. Yeah, there he's driving. Well, all right. Oliver from Berlin, nice to see you. We got, oh, there's Rob H from Canada. Yes.
Good to see you, Paul.
Nice to see you, Rob. Hey, yeah, I got the message that you tried to get in touch with me.
Just making sure you're alive still.
Yeah, I'm still here, seemingly.
All right.
We got David B. Nice to see you, Dave. Yeah. Not in jail and not in the hospital. It's a good day. Yeah, great. Tommy, again, Tommy. We got Steve from Germany, and we got, oh, there's Elva. She's out, there she is. Nice to see you. I think I pronounced it right. Or that's Elvan. Whatever, I can't see. But you know, yeah, there she is. Thank you. Yes. She responded. Oh, we got Deborah. Oh, Deborah, I found this from Alberta. I haven't been seeing you. Usually it's just the name. Nice to see you, Deborah. It is, yeah. We got a news in India. Nice to see a new Tej, Bill, Sue, Kay. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Oh, wait a minute. Here's another person here. Oh, it's Deb. Oh, there she is. She's appeared. Nice to see you, Deborah. All right, everyone. Thank you. I'll see you.
Paul.
I'll see you Tuesday and Thursday for the non-duality. No, recovery. Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, non-duality. All on the website. All right. Thank you.
They all
See
work
you.
together.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Paul.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Paul.
Hi, Amelia.
I mean,
Thanks,
see you
Paul.
later.